Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky!
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Name the dog, Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in paints?
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, is my doom-invested friend, Frank. How are you today?
I'm feeling doom and gloomy, bud.
Doom and gloomy?
Doom and gloomy.
Tell me about your doom and gloom.
I just feel like all these bony protrusions coming out of my skin, and I feel like, you know, I can't hold it in anymore.
Did you go to a doctor? If you did, he may recommend this new drug from the future called Booster Gold.
Ooh.
It should help you.
It'll boost all my gold?
It'll boost all your gold, but not in the bank. Just the gold inside of you.
Ah.
Yeah.
Like my heart of gold.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think I should wait until the bony protrusions have lasted at least 4 hours before consulting a doctor.
Yeah, 4 hours is good.
Yeah, 4 hours is good.
Yes, it may also cause madness and rage.
Ooh.
Interesting. What are you drinking? Things
So
that also cause not madness and not rage.
just coolness, kids. You remember Small Town Brewery? They make the Not Your Father's root beer. It's like alcohol.
Recall such things.
Alcohol root beer.
Mm.
This is Small Town Brewery's Not Your Father's Ginger Ale.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's very exciting.
So this is ale brewed with ginger, not Father's. And
Will help my tummy settle down.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it does have ginger
Have
in
some
it.
ginger ale.
Yeah, exactly.
Have some Not Your Father's ginger
This
ale.
is beer flavored with spices. We like to think of it as a refreshing ale brewed with ginger. Best served chilled or poured in a glass over ice. We know you'll enjoy it. We do. It's 5.9% alcohol for a ginger ale, and it does not taste like alcohol in the least. It goes down very smooth.
Yeah, it does. It doesn't exactly taste like ginger ale.
Not exactly.
Either.
Although, have you had like organic ginger ale?
No.
It kind of it tastes very similar
More
to that.
like organic ginger ale.
Yeah,
Okay.
like with true, like made with real ginger and like less of artificial sweeteners and
Do you
more
like
natural
ginger on
sweeteners.
its own? Like when
not-
you get sushi and you're like, here's some ginger.
No,
in the
not
corner.
really.
No, I don't like it either.
But I like it as an ingredient in certain recipes
yeah, me too.
and stuff like that.
But I don't
yeah.
want it on its own. I don't want it on top of
No,
my
I don't-
sushi.
no.
And I certainly don't want it on top of my beer bottle, which thankfully this is not
This
the
is
case.
not. No, but I give it like a 7 out of 10 maybe. It's pretty good. I'd buy it again. I wouldn't drink it every day, but I'd buy it again.
Yeah, I agree with that. Maybe not a 7 out of 10. Maybe I'd give it because I want to drink it again. I don't really want to drink a beer that's a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I don't like when I go. Although that's kind of accurate because if I was going into the store and I was looking at all the different beer, I was like, that's the one I want to watch the sporting event.
Yeah.
That one. Not Your Father's ginger ale. Come, friends, come to my house where we shall be manly and drink soda that is beer. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. No, just give me some Stella for that. You know?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Right.
No.
I know. No, I think I would buy it again, but not on the regular. You know, when I'm in the mood for it, I would definitely buy it again.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
so why am I so filled with rage?
Well, I was actually staring at your bony protrusions, or just your one bony protrusion. Either way.
Is that a bony protrusion? Are you happy to see me?
It's both. Well, I was staring at bony protrusions, and it was reminding me of my good fake friend character, Doomsday.
It's a really weird fake friend to have.
I know. What a weird name to give somebody. This is my friend Bill and Jennifer and Doomsday. Yeah. Well, Batman v Superman is coming out pretty soon, and I want to I always like to prepare for. I like to prepare for big events because, we have other big movies coming out in 2016, or big superhero movies coming out. We have, Batman v Superman. There's Civil War. There's X-Men Apocalypse.
That's true.
And all the Deadpool and all these different things. But Batman v Superman is like we've seen the Marvel characters on screen before.
Right.
We've seen X-Men on screen before. We've even seen Deadpool on screen before. Technically,
that's true. That's true.
But we have not seen live action Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman and Doomsday on screen together. That's
never together.
That's totally new. So I like to mentally prepare for these things. So I went back and I watched Max Landis's Death and Return of Superman. Instead of just reading the Death and Return of Superman.
Give me the Cliff Notes version.
I went to the not so accurate Cliff Note version.
Not very accurate.
Doesn't matter. His story is great. But
a Batman fan would say that.
Yeah. Well, he did a Nightfall one too. That's pretty funny.
Oh, really? I haven't seen that one. Okay.
It's very grainy. Like it's film. Like it's not a very good quality.
Okay. Yeah.
In the slightest. But his jokes are funny. So
his jokes are definitely funny. I just don't necessarily agree with his the opinions or the points he's trying to make in the Superman one. But I guess just take a step back just in case anyone's not a huge comics fan. But back in early 90s, 92, 93.
It was 92. 92. Nightfall was 93.
Okay.
Continue.
Well, I think it lasted a year, into 93. And it was an event where the unthinkable happened. Superman died. And this was the first time, this is kind of cliche now, but it was the first time that a major publisher decided to kill off a major character in this way, where they did a big event around it. Yeah, not the first time they killed off a major character, but where they did an event around the death of
like you
knew
the death was coming.
Yeah,
because
it was
of Superman.
It was the name of the event. Or I guess really at the time it was called Doomsday. It was really just called Doomsday. You didn't really know what was going to happen. I think it was like solicits and everything were saying like Death of Superman, but if you read the the covers of all of the books and everything was like, countdown to Doomsday, and then like Doomsday is here. The line draw, like the buck stops here or whatever it said, like
the
stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so it's the death of Superman, and ultimately the return of Superman. Over the course of about a year. But it was a huge event. It made front page headlines all over the country.
Was it on the cover of Time?
It may have been. Yeah, it honestly may have been.
It was definitely the front page of the newspaper. It was definitely on the news. I don't remember if it was on Time or not. It could have been, though.
Could have been. It was a major cultural event, phenomenon, touchstone. Like, it was a huge deal because Superman is such an American institution that the idea that they were going to kill him off was, earth-shattering, even for people who were not necessarily huge fans. It was a big deal. So, yeah.
Did you read it? And no, you wouldn't have read it as is in 1992. You would have been.
I would have been 3 years old. Yeah. So no.
So you, the child savant genius that you are, definitely read
definitely
it.
read it.
Yeah.
I still have my polybagged Superman 75.
Actually, I just found my polybagged.
You have one?
Yeah.
I don't have one.
You don't have
one?
one?
No, I don't have one.
Oh, you want mine?
I mean, sure.
Yeah. I'm not opening it.
Neither am I. Yeah. No, I want to get one of my own one day.
For you for like Christmas or birthday years ago.
No. Yeah, no, I don't have a 75 polybagged. I have a 75, but not polybagged. But yeah, I have Superman 75, which is the issue, the Death of Superman issue, the one where he actually dies.
The full splash page.
The full splash page. Yeah,
wrote that. I mean, I drew that.
It's gonna be a one lookup one, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dan Jurgens and Jerry Ordway.
Oh, it might have been Jerry.
I think it might have been Jerry Ordway.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Actually, I'm not going to use my lookup on that.
I'm going to say Jerry Ordway.
I think it's Ordway.
Yeah.
Actually, Ordway had the idea.
It was Ordway's idea, not Jurgens' idea.
It was Ordway's idea.
Okay. What's the story? I don't know if I know this one.
So they had annual sort of creative summits. The team that worked on Superman. There were like 4 Superman titles at the time. There was Superman, there was Action, there was Adventures of Superman, and there was Superman: The Man of Steel.
They still have 4 Superman titles then. Technically, they have
Superman
Action, Superman, Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman.
Yeah, or Batman, Superman. Yeah,
yeah,
they do. But at the time they were all Superman titles, not shared titles like we have now. And so they had like the story at the time was running through all 4 titles. So one book came out the first week of every month, one came out the second week, third week, fourth week, and so you would follow the story through all 4 books. So you had to be reading all 4 books to understand what was going on. And
money
so,
grab.
Pretty much. But it was a pretty cool. It was called the Never Ending Battle. So it was all every from one book to the next to the next.
It's like the never ending story. It lies. It does in fact end.
It does end.
The credits
it did end.
do roll.
Yes,
yeah.
this is true.
As I've been told because I've never seen it. Because I was afraid of getting caught in this never ending loop.
I can't stop watching.
I stayed away. The credits roll. The movie just starts over again.
Yeah.
How are you doing this?
This is the film that does.
This is a VHS tape. How did you do this?
That doesn't even make
magic.
sense. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
But they had these annual summits where the writers and artists of all 4 books would get together. The editors would get together and pretty much plan out like what the story for the next year would be. Mm-hmm. And so they were in kind of a rut because they had this directive coming down from up high where the Lois and Clark TV show was on. I think they were in their 1st or 2nd season at this point. And Warner Brothers, which owned DC and was also the studio for the show, gave them this order that the comics couldn't have Lois and Clark marry until they were getting married on the show. So to coordinate efforts.
Which was season 3 of the show.
Right. So they had to wait a year or so before they could do this. And they had Clark and Lois engaged, and Lois knew his secret and everything in the comics.
Yeah.
But they weren't quite there yet in the show, so they had to fill time for a year.
Were they in the comics though? Were they just about ready to get married, or were they in there just we're just engaged?
I haven't
a year
read...
isn't that long in comics time. You could do
true.
year's story that takes place in a day.
They were ready to do it. They were ready to write that.
Yeah.
And they had to postpone it.
Okay.
They had now we have to fill a year with stories that we weren't ready to do. So they're brainstorming. There's actually video on some of the DVD extras that go with, I can't remember if it goes with that 14 disc box set, a metal box set. I actually have it. Or if it's on the Superman Doomsday cartoon, if it's on the bonus disc for that. It might be on that. Yeah. But there's video of them they would just videotape their meetings, I guess, so they wouldn't have to take notes or anything.
Right.
And Jerry Ordway is every idea they have, he's forget it, let's just kill him. We can just kill him. It's fine, let's just kill him. And he would do this every year, and they would always be very funny, Jerry. All right, whatever. And then finally this time, because they needed to come up with something, they were what if Jerry's not so crazy? What if we actually entertain this for a second? And they started just riffing off of it and brainstorming and coming up with ideas, and they actually decided oh my God, we're going to kill Superman. Oh my God, we're going to kill this American icon.
Was it decided? Spoilers for something that came out over 20 years ago. Was it decided in that meeting that he was not going to be really dead?
I don't know that. I think so. I mean, yes. I'm going to say logically yes, because they knew that they were bringing him back to get him married to Lois, right? So they knew this was going to be temporary, but they knew it had to.
It's weird that the death and return of Superman was just a weird placeholder so that he could.
It was
Lois. In essence.
It sounds weird. I mean, on the one hand, it's obviously every time you kill a superhero, it's just to it's just because you don't have anything better to do.
Marvel just released something days ago. That was
Civil War II.
No.
Oh.
No. They've just released a tag that said "Dead No More," and that was their teaser for whoever's not dead.
Interesting. Okay.
And of course. I'm so unfazed now.
Right. But that's a relatively recent, it's
since the death and return of
the
Superman.
line in the sand, is the death and return of Superman. Because before that, you either had you would have characters die. You had the Flash die. You had Supergirl die in Crisis on Infinite Earths, right? Yep. And they stayed dead for many, many, many years.
Flash was dead for about 30 years.
About, yeah.
He came back in 2007.
So 22 years. Yeah, Flash Rebirth.
Was it 2007?
Wasn't it?
No.
Maybe 2009?
No, it's right. It was right. It was a year before the new
Flashpoint.
So it was
2010 then?
2010.
Flashpoint was 11.
Flashpoint was 11.
Yeah.
And Flash was out about a year before that.
Okay.
So I'm going to look.
Okay, fine. But yeah, so 25, 30 years. And Supergirl was dead for about 20, a little less than 20 years. I think she came back in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
So a little less than 20 years.
2009.
2009, okay.
April 2009 to February 2010.
And it was before 2010. So yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, that's these characters stay dead for decades. It was when Superman died and came back, in about a year, that started to become a more common occurrence because they saw how well it sold. That's what DC kept doing it and Marvel kept doing it. But in the past, and there are like Silver Age issues where it's like on the cover it says like the death of Superman, and then you like read it and it's just like he was playing a prank on Lois because he's a jerk.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, I wasn't dead at all, Lois. Now I bet you really missed me. It's like,
yep. Oh yes, I do want to marry you, and then he'd be like, oh no, she wants to marry me. I have to my death again.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yes. They did do that a few times.
Comics Code Authority.
Yes, exactly. But it had to have a happy ending every time, so he always had to come back at the end of the issue or whatever.
That's right.
So this is when they decided, like, no, we're going to like really go after this. And yes, he's going to come back, but we're going to do it in a way that's not annoying. That was the first and last time it was done in a way that was not annoying.
I don't necessarily agree with you. I don't think that his return annoys me.
Oh, okay.
It does.
Interesting.
I was in a coma. Well, everyone thought I was dead.
Well,
and my hair grew out, but my beard didn't. And I'm wearing this sweet black suit, which is pretty sweet.
It is pretty cool.
But I'm carrying these guns because I'm in the 90s.
Yeah.
That actually does annoy me.
But when you look at it through the lens of 1993 comics,
well, yeah, but I didn't read it in 93.
Okay, but you have to read it as a product of the time. The same way you have to read a Silver Age book as like, well, it was a Silver Age book, so this is what they did back then.
Yes, that I agree with, but it's not. I don't think that's an excuse in the same way. That'd be like reading The Great Gatsby and being like, oh, well, it was the 20s and the 30s, so we have to read it like that. And
but I mean, that is how you have to read it. You have to read it through things that you don't like or don't make sense. You have to think about, okay, number one,
you have context. Yes,
yes. Context. Exactly.
I agree with you, but that doesn't. But it
doesn't mean you have to like it. I'm not saying that means you have to excuse it.
The era in which it was written, to me, is not an excuse for a first pass idea. That's
okay.
That's what I mean.
You think the idea needed more work, needed more?
I think his return. I have no problem with him coming back at the end of the year.
Sure. But the way they did it,
I think I like the Reign of the Supermen, and I like those characters are cool. The Eradicator and Cyborg Superman and Metropolis Kid and Steel.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with all of that. I had a Metropolis Kid toy when I was a kid.
Oh, that's cool.
He was pretty awesome.
I have the posters.
Leather jacket.
Yeah, that is a cool leather jacket, and like the buzzed sides.
Yeah,
of his
that's
head.
super in right now.
It's back.
Yeah,
Max Landis actually has like that haircut almost right now. Have you seen a picture of him right now?
It's a little long. But
it's a little long. Yeah, it's like long on
same.
Top and then like buzzed on the sides. And I think he's got a man bun because that's the thing now. But yeah, like I think that's super. It's super funny that it came back around.
It did. So that's all fine, but I think I was in a coma is really that's a first pass kind of thing.
It was a little more than a coma, but okay.
Well, explain what it is.
But, yeah. So I guess we should kind of go through the story in case. So he fights this monster called Doomsday, and it's
Doomsday.
Yeah. Back to him. He fights this monster called Doomsday that is this like unstoppable killing machine that literally comes across the country. It starts like on the West Coast and works its way across the country, killing everything in sight as it gets to Metropolis.
Because it's a cloned baby that keeps dying.
Basically, yeah. I mean, kind of.
But what
you're being facetious, but it's this giant machine. It's like a monster / machine that is unbeatable. It's made to adapt to all of its surroundings. So if you punch it, it's now impervious to like being punched in that spot or being punched in that way.
Yes, that part. Yeah, that part's cool.
It grows the bony protrusions
as protection.
Yeah. So you punch it like in the leg, and it grows these bones come sticking out of its skin.
Isn't that interesting? Then actually, I've never thought about this. If he grows the bony protrusions as protection, that means that he actually can be hurt in a very particular way.
Yes, he can be hurt, but it's like you can only hurt it that way once,
right?
And then it adapts. It adapts to every attack.
Yeah, or at least until he stops looking aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah. I guess.
Yeah, he'd just be a giant.
Hey, don't yank my ponytail.
Yeah.
So it literally has a ponytail.
I like the Doomsday ponytail.
And they did a very cool reveal of it, where it's like he's in this big green suit and he's like escaped from this lab, and you don't see anything other than this big green, like head to toe, face
like
covered,
a hazmat suit,
kind of a hazmat. Exactly, you can't see anything. Totally covered, every part of his body is covered, and it's giant, and it works its way across the country, and it's like terrorizing the country, and the Justice League is trying to stop it, and they can't, and they call in Superman, and he, they fight like the half of the country over to Metropolis. Once they get to Metropolis, Superman's like, "This ends now. You're in my city. This is over." As he's like, wreaking havoc and creating destruction everywhere. And they get into this epic battle. And the really cool thing they did is, as the story progresses, this went on for several issues. And as the story progresses, it starts out sort of normal, 4 to 6 panels per page, right? And as they progress, it's fewer and fewer panels per page as the issues go on, until finally the very last issue, so it's 6 panels per page, and then 4 in the next one, and then 2 in the next one, and then the final issue, one where Superman dies. Every page is splash pages. It's one panel, one giant panel on every page, and it's just this beautiful, beautiful art. And I actually get like goosebumps thinking about this. Like the first time I read this book, I read it in college.
You don't get bone bumps.
I don't get.
No, I don't know what those are.
You don't know. I get goosebumps thinking about it because it really had an effect on me as a even as like an 18-year-old, whatever I was. Because like this is my childhood hero, and it's a comic book, and I know it's not real, and I know he came back. I knew all that, but still, I was just like, it was
that matters in enjoying.
It was
story.
And I was really like, oh my god, this is like real. Like they built so much emotion into the story, wrote so much emotion into the story, where he is defending his city, defending his people who he loves, and the very last pages have just Lois sobbing, holding his dying body, and like she knows he's Superman, she knows that Superman is Clark, but she can't tell anybody, and she's just sobbing, holding her dying fiance, and the narration, so to speak, over the page is this is the day that a Superman died. And it just gets to me. Like it's just such
it's getting to you now.
A little bit. It's just such a beautiful story, beautifully told, beautifully done, and very powerful to me. And he finally kills Doomsday. They kill each other basically. In the end, it's he manages to find out the only way to kill Doomsday, and he kills himself in the process.
How does he kill Doomsday?
I think it literally is he flies him so high in the atmosphere and then throws him down. But just like the whole fight takes so much out of him, and then that final effort, depletes his own energy, so to the point where he
in which he goes into a Kryptonian coma.
So, as it turns out, it's like he was in like a super coma where like he had such a slow heartbeat, it wasn't detectable, and all this stuff. So he was, for all intents and purposes, dead, but there was still some like brain activity or heart activity or whatever
that was undetectable by human
standards, and that's why. And so he was.
So where does the sweet black suit and long hair come from?
The Eradicator.
Does it?
I think so. Because the Eradicator's whole, like, he stole the body and was trying to recharge it and everything. Like, that's the whole reason why the body went missing. And so what happens is, for the next year after, they have this whole thing, Funeral for a Friend, where they bury Superman and things kind of go back to normal. And the really interesting thing they did was they really wanted to, like, freak people out and fake people out. So they just stopped publishing Superman titles and Action Comics for like 6 months.
Yeah.
And
that's good.
Like they ended it, and it was like Superman number 75, he died, and then they just didn't publish anymore for like 6 months, and people were like,
yeah,
wait, are you
serial right now?
And then they started doing this whole event called Funeral for a Friend, and then
that trick would not work anymore because
it works once.
Internet, or even by like internet, like if they'd never done it in 1992,
solicitations
because of internet solicitations and stuff like that.
It's true.
People would know months ahead of time that book was coming back,
because you know like 3 or 4 months in advance, like what.
Yeah,
they're soliciting stuff now. But I mean that's for the shop owners. Like fans read that stuff, but it's for the shop owners. Like it's in Wizard and stuff like that. It's for the shop owners.
Sort of.
It's for people. It's for retail.
Yes, but fans can.
Yeah, fans get a hold of it and read it and everything else.
No, let me finish.
Oh, sorry.
No, fans order from those same
that's true.
solicitations. That's how you get. That's how your pre.
That's
your
true.
Pre-list.
That's true.
So they really are for fans too. At the same time now, they used to just be for shop
Yes,
owners.
exactly. It's evolved.
Wizard
over time.
hasn't been published in years. FYI.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I'm
I know.
talking about 92.
Just I miss Wizard.
I'm talking about 92 though.
I know I miss Wizard.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Did you ever pick up a copy of Wizard?
Maybe once or twice. But
I
not
remember
really.
my first copy of Wizard. Actually, I don't remember the issue number, but it had Spider-Man and Venom on the cover.
Okay.
And it had Venom creeping over. It had Venom creeping over Spider-Man, all
Nice.
hulking like, and inside was if they were going to make an X-Men movie, lol. If they were going to make,
That's a long time ago.
If it was like '96, I think, and
Wow.
it was if they were going to make an X-Men movie, this is who we'd cast.
Oh man,
I will give you $1 if you can tell me who you think that they should cast.
who they.
As Professor X and Wolverine.
I mean, please tell me it's Patrick Stewart.
Patrick Stewart, was
And
Patrick
Hugh Jackman?
Stewart. No, it was not
Okay.
Hugh Jackman.
That Patrick Stewart's like the only logical choice, really, for me. I mean, obviously he got in, and that's why I'm influenced by that. But
Right.
I don't know who Wolverine.
I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
You talking to me?
No way.
Yeah. You talking to me? Yeah. Robert
really?
De Niro.
Robert De Niro is
They cast
Wolverine.
Robert De Niro based off of his performance in Cape Fear.
Wow.
Yep.
That's weird. It's
How weird is that?
A little too weird for me.
It's a little weird.
A little too weird
yeah,
for me.
I agree. But what else did we have?
No, it's true.
Yeah,
It's true.
So it was really
Wow.
cool. I still have that issue. I should go back
That's
and look
cool.
at it. Yeah.
That's cool. But yes, back in the day, you would have your wizard. You would have you could get access to it, but it was far less likely that an average fan would
Yes,
know this
back
stuff.
in 92.
Back in
Yeah,
92.
yeah.
So they were just like, well, that's it. It's I
Yeah,
guess
what a
that's
great
really,
ploy. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that they did
and you
that.
can do that
Yeah.
trick exactly once.
Yes,
and then people
exactly.
get suspicious after that.
Yeah, I think they could probably get away with it in the next, I'd say 30 or 40 years because most
maybe
people who are reading at that point wouldn't
remember it. But if they're reading solicits, then it's a null and void
Yeah,
thing. Cause,
I agree.
So they didn't publish for a few months, and then they started publishing again, even without Superman in the book, because it was like now it was time for the return. So they were ramping up for the return for like another year, and you had these 4 imposters. You had Steel, you had the Metropolis Kid, you had Cyborg Superman, you had the Eradicator.
Would we call them all of them imposters? Because Steel wasn't rolling around pretending
You're
to
right,
be
but that's what they
Superman.
were. That's what they were being billed as.
Yes, yeah.
Because the whole thing was, which one do you think is the real Superman? They were all, and even though Steel was
Joke's on you, none of them.
clearly not.
Yeah.
like you knew it.
How weird would it have been if they were like, Superman's now a bald black man?
But this was kind of his origin story too. So like you didn't.
Steel's origin story.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you
since it
didn't
was,
really
yeah.
know if there was going to be a twist with him or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, they were asking fans like, guess which one do you think it is? And people were picking teams and like, no, I think it's this guy, I think it's that guy. They had 4 issues come out. I think it was 1 issue of each title, where there was a fold out poster of one of each of the characters of those characters. I have all 4 of those issues.
Oh, nice.
Super nice. So yeah, they did some cool stuff. They made it really like interactive for the time, really like getting people involved, like pick a team, pick a side, all that kind of stuff. And in the end, it was none of them.
Joke's on you.
Trick you. What ends up happening is that the Eradicator is this
He said trick you. All I think of is space. Fool you.
Yeah. The Eradicator is this Kryptonian computer basically that is there to
Destroy
Buzz Lightyear. Destroy Buzz Lightyear. To watch over and bring him back to life, essentially, if anything should happen, if any harm should come to him. That's kind of what the Eradicator is.
Now, see, I had forgotten that.
Yeah.
Which makes so if the Eradicator didn't exist, then Superman could have potentially been in his coma
Forever.
Yes. Or until he died.
Right.
I guess in the grave. So that makes his return less stupid.
Yes.
In my eyes.
You gotta remember all the details. There's actually a really good radio drama of it that was done.
I remember that. Never listened to it, but I
by
do
maybe
recall.
the BBC. I think it was done by
Yeah.
someone in Britain, but it's got American actors and everything in it. But it was a
Boy,
British
I'm
production.
Superman. Yeah.
Actually, that's what Lex Luthor sounded like. He was Australian.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because Lex Luthor in this version of the story, it's he basically clones himself.
Yes, that's
and
right.
then he's dying. He's getting cancer from the kryptonite ring that he's always wearing.
Yep.
So he gets cancer. He dies, but he clones himself. Introduces this clone to the world as his son, as his fake son, Lex Luthor Jr., Alexander Luthor, and then puts his brain in the body of this clone. So the clone is pretending to be a good guy. Oh, my father was terrible. He was evil, but I'm a good guy. But it's actually really the same Lex Luthor in a new body, pretending to be a good guy. But yeah, he was supposed to be Australian.
That is, in fact, his old body, too.
Correct.
Yeah.
But a cloned version of his old body. And this kid is supposed to be like his estranged illegitimate son who was brought up in Australia, so he's Australian.
Austria.
Which they mention.
Put another shrimp on the barbie.
Wait, what's that from? I can't remember.
Dumb and Dumber.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They mention it in the comics, but then that's it.
Right.
But in the radio drama, they actually cast an Australian actor, which is very cool. But anyhow, he comes back when the Eradicator steals his body. People think now the body is gone, so it's got to be one of these 4 guys must be the real Superman, because the body is missing.
Right.
And it turns out that it is none of them. The Eradicator, who was one of those 4, was actually working to bring the body back to life the whole time, manages to do so. And when he comes back to life, yes, he's got kind of a mullet. He's got long hair. He's wearing this black suit, which the Eradicator did give him. It was like what he had to wear to absorb. He was going to be very weak at first, so he had to absorb more sunlight. So he wore black, because he absorbed more heat and stuff. And he needed that to hold in, it was going to help him charge up his whatever, his photoreceptor cell things,
right?
By wearing the special suit. And the guns, I have no idea about.
Well, if he wasn't
because he wasn't powered up enough,
then he needed the guns.
But he comes back in this blaze of glory where
it's like the Eradicator was shaving Superman, but not cutting his hair
with his I know his heat vision.
With his heat
I
vision,
don't know,
with a mirror.
Yeah, exactly. You have this blaze of glory event really where the cyborg Superman turns out to be Hank Henshaw.
Yep.
Who was Superman saved him, couldn't save him or his wife. His wife died.
Yep.
Superman
Fantastic Four.
Right.
It was like the Avengers go into space,
it was
but instead of coming back with fun powers, they all are dying. And she's instead of being invisible, she's going into an altered dimension, never to return, phasing into an altered dimension, never return.
Right. So he's Superman, you couldn't save my wife. You killed my wife.
Yeah.
So I'm going to disgrace your memory and destroy a city.
Yep. By destroying Coast City.
and make people think you did it.
The worst villains of all time, i.e., Hal Jordan.
Pal Jordan. Parallax.
Yeah.
A.k.a. Hal Jordan.
Pal Jordan.
Good old Pal Jordan.
That's a flash joke waiting to happen.
Yes.
This is my Pal Jordan.
How long you wouldn't say that?
20 years.
Yeah, so Hal Jordan goes nuts, snaps after the Coast City gets destroyed. Superman comes and saves the day, sort of, except doesn't save Coast City. But he fights off the bad guys, and I'm trying to wrap it up here because we are out of time. But and that's how Superman returned. Basically, is that he saved the day after the destruction happened.
Just as a final question, wrap up, how much of that do you think you're going to see in Batman v Superman?
Very little. I think we're going to see. So we're going to see Doomsday. We know that. We saw him in the trailer. That's not a spoiler.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know if we're going to see the death of Superman in this movie.
I doubt it.
I kind of doubt it.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna team up towards the end to beat Doomsday, and
or team up in the middle to defeat a villain in the third act,
or something like that. Yeah,
yeah. That's what I'm banking on.
Okay,
I'm banking on Act 1 fight, Act 2 team up, Act 3 bigger team up for something different,
and that's when Wonder Woman shows up. And
no, I think Wonder Woman shows up in the second.
Oh, right, because there has to be some sensuality first.
Yeah, right, exactly.
According to the MPAA,
according to the rating system, yeah. That's what I'm thinking. I'm also thinking that Doomsday is going to get bony protrusions as the fight goes on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too.
And they're holding that back.
I think so too. Because people are like, "Oh, he doesn't look like bony enough," and it's like, first of all, you keep your bones where they in your pants.
Yes,
and second of all,
as will Doomsday.
If you know anything about Doomsday, I mean, in the comics anyway, in any iteration we've seen, it's a progression.
Yes, right.
He gets more and more, ugly, and as time goes on. So. It's a product of the fight, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
I'm
excited. We'll talk about that at another time.
Yeah, we will. But I don't. Doomsday's been done a few times in different comics and everything, but I think the best and the one that I kind of wish was the only one was the death of Superman, because that's when he was introduced. He was created because they were like, no, nothing that exists is powerful enough to kill Superman. We have to make a new villain that is unstoppable, and they did that really well. I think that Doomsday served his purpose and probably never should have appeared again. But then they couldn't resist bringing him back a couple times in different incarnations. It kind of weakened it, but that's my opinion. But anyway, that's my long-winded summary of the death of Superman. Thank you for letting me ramble on. That's what I do.
That's
Frank
what
Ramblings.
you do. You ramble.
I'm Frank Ramblings on Twitter. Tim's Timp_Gannon.
Indeed.
You can find us, follow us. You can review us on iTunes. Do we have any?
I do.
Oh,
I do. I have one here. It says, "Great podcast!" ! 5 stars from CMC13. It says, "I absolutely love you guys. You make my long drive to work more enjoyable, listening to many topics I hold dear to my heart. And once I am home from work, I find myself looking to try the beers you talk about. Thanks." Drinking responsibly, not drinking and driving.
Absolutely.
That's what I like to read.
That's what we like to read.
That's what I'm about. All right.
Kids.
Yeah, now I'm going to go drive now that I
All
had
right.
this beer. No, just JK.
It's
gonna hang out
ginger
for a
ale.
while.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Oh wait.
Yeah.
But you can leave us iTunes reviews and we'll read them on the show. Thank you to all you guys who have and do ratings and reviews. Just a 5-star rating is really, even if you don't write a review. A rating is perfectly fine. Find us on iTunes. Find us on Stitcher Radio. Find us on the Overcast app for iOS. Find us on the Satchel Media Player for Android. And now coming to iOS, the beta is out for Satchel Media Player. Yeah, beta is out. So I can't wait to test that out myself. I'm hoping to do that soon. But check it out. Comes from some friends of ours. It's a really nice looking app, and I can't wait to try it out in person. And find us at Beer with Geeks on Twitter, beerwithgeeks.com. And anywhere that finer podcasts are available. Tim, thank you so much for joining me today.
You're welcome. Thank you for setting my ways right about the death and return of Superman.
All right.
I look forward to our conversation about things at another time, maybe.
All right. Sounds
Great.
good.
Okay.
Until then.
Cheers.